everybody, my name is Pobst. I've been a professional racer pretty much my whole life. Won almost 100 pro races, including the Rolex 24 at Daytona twice. And I've got something like 4 championships in a series called World Challenge. I have driven with a factory contract, which in road racing, that's like the holy grail. I drove for Porsche. I didn't drive a Porsche, I drove for Porsche. That's a very important distinction. Porsche, Audi, Mazda, and Volvo. Believe it or not, I drove for Volvo for 7 years. So I've been around, and I've had the good fortune to be around on some really good teams. It takes a team to win a race, and you all are your own teams today for the most part. And focus on how to drive right, because winning a professional race is very, very difficult. You've got to get everything right, because guess what? Those other drivers, they're good too. I don't care how good you are, you're always going to find somebody else who's really good in any sport or any endeavor. And so focusing on that, I found, just like you heard, like when I used to watch my dad golf, and he always wanted to watch golf on Sunday afternoons. And I'd hear him talking about fundamentals. You always got to focus on your fundamentals. It's the same thing here. I don't care how good you are at driving, it still comes down to a couple simple things. One of which is looking and thinking ahead. And if you've ever had classes, how many people have had like a pro school? Skip Barber or something? Nobody?
Pro school?
Nobody's done Skip Barber or anything. Good. You're all mine. So looking and thinking ahead is really important, because everybody has natural hand-eye coordination. It's like baseball or golf or something. You keep your eye on the ball, right? Same thing in driving. But when you're driving, the ball is, a lot of times, is the apex, or it's the corner. You've got to look and think ahead. So when you're approaching a corner, the windshield is straight ahead. But the corner is where? Where's the corner?
Off to the left or right.
It's over here somewhere. So when I'm riding with you, and I was riding with Elaine this morning, or with Andy, they heard me say that same kind of thing. Because we would approach the corner, and I'd look at them. I'd just look at the driver and see, where are they looking? And the corner would be coming up, and they're still looking out the windshield. And I said, eyes in, eyes in. And I stuck my hand right in front of their eyes. I'm like, over there. Oh.
You didn't tell me that, Andy.
Because, yeah, we've all got natural hand-eye coordination. And if you're looking the right way and thinking ahead, that will make everything else you do fall into place. If you don't think of anything else when you're driving in this very next session, think about when you get near a corner, start looking over at it, even before you turn, because you have to look at something to go there. You go where you look. And one complication of that is our natural instincts that we evolved with, or we're created with, whichever choice you have, is that we tend to look at what we're afraid of. And when a bear comes out of the woods, that worked for many thousands of years. Oh, the bear, what am I going to do? Well, when you get in a corner a little hard, a little too hot, a little too fast. Anybody done that lately? You get a little fast, you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Where are you looking when you're scared? You're looking at what you're afraid you're going to hit. Well, you go where you look. So if you get in a little bit of trouble, keep looking where you want to be. If you hit the wall, you should still be looking at the corner where you want to be, all the way in. All the way in. Because you go where you look. Think about that in your next session, if nothing else from what I'm saying here. Next thing is, believe it or not, your primary job as a driver is weight management. You ever heard that before? Weight management. You're going, what's that? What? Weight management is like this. Everybody, I want you to do a tap dance with me. Stick your foot out in front of you and slide it back and forth lightly. Right? Easy, right? Okay? Now lean on it. Now slide it back and forth. You feel that? That's traction. How did you get that traction?
You put weight on it.
You put weight on it, okay? Now, how do you put weight on the front tires?
Brake.
Anytime you slow down, the coffee cup falls off the seat and into the wheel well, right? Anytime you slow down, motorcycles, if they slow down hard enough, they can get the back wheel right up off the ground. So slowing down, move weights forward. What about acceleration? It goes back. You've seen the drag racers, they get the wheels off the ground, motorcycles, wheelie. Who's the guy doing the great bicycle wheelies?
He just went that way.
Yeah. I've always wanted to get better at wheelies. Wow, else is weird. But when you accelerate, the weight goes back. What tires steer the car?
Front.
The front. So when you're accelerating, how well is that car going to steer?
Not well.
It's going to be like this. So don't try to accelerate and turn at the same time. It doesn't work. And when you're braking, how well is the car going to steer?
Very well.
Because you're leaning on those tires and they got traction. So use your weight management to help drive the car. The fact is, if you ever got in a corner and you start turning and the front's tires start sliding, and you'll find that no matter how much you turn the wheel, the car will not turn any better. The reason is, any part of the car that's sliding too much is asking for more weight or for load or whatever you want to call it. So if the front tires ever start sliding, you can't get the car turned. You're looking in, just like Randy told you, and the car won't go there. The tires are asking you to put some load on them. Put a little weight up there. Now, tires are the only thing that are touching the ground, right? Tires touch the ground, we call that a contact patch. And that contact patch gets bigger when you put weight on it, and it gets smaller when you take weight off of it. And the tires can only do a lot of one thing at a time. Who can tell me the three things that a car can do? What are the three things? Give me one. What's one thing your car can do?
Accelerate.
Accelerate, that's one.
Stop.
Braking.
Turn.
Corners. Burnout. You can do any one of those three things. Your tire can do any one of those three things. Accelerate, brake, or corner. But it can't do a lot of it. Two of them. Or it can't do all three at once either. Try to brake and accelerate at the same time, but it doesn't work. But they can't do a lot of two things at the same time. So when you're in a corner, the tires are busy cornering. Anything you do with the gas or the brake can only be a little bit. And if you want to do any, you've got to give up some cornering. Same thing as if you're braking a lot, that you're saying, okay, tires, brake, stop, now turn. The tire says, nope, I can't do a lot of both of that. It goes straight, you slide. Same with accelerating, which happens to us a lot, is if we're cornering and we ask for a lot of acceleration, the tires say, I can't do a lot of both. Slide, off you go. You spin out or you understeer off the road. So remember that your tires can only do a lot of one thing at a time. And if you're doing a lot of one thing, you have to give that up to do anything else. So a corner has a sequence like this, right? You're coming down the straight, flat out, or whatever you want. You're coming down the straight on the gas. As you approach the corner, you have to brake. So this is the only time you're allowed to be quick with a car. I didn't talk about being smooth yet. We'll talk about it right now. All the inputs you give to a car have to be really smooth, especially your steering, but except for when you get on the brakes. When you're going down the straightaway and you see that it's time to brake, do that as fast as you can. Because any amount of time you coming off the gas and going to the brake pedal, that car's going down the road at 60, 80, 100 miles an hour. You're going a long way. You're wasting time. So when you're going down the straightaway on the gas, go quickly to the brake. And your instructor will actually really appreciate that. Because instructors like to feel a brake when you're coming into a corner. And when you're going straight, your tires aren't doing anything else. They're going straight. So you can do a lot of brake. Then you start looking into the corner and you start turning. And as you start turning, you start braking less. Because you can't do a lot of both, right? So say, okay, tires, turn a little more and brake a little less. Turn a little more, don't brake at all. Now you're cornering full speed. You're looking ahead. Now you start to go to the gas because you've gotten down to the right place on the track. Everything looks good. You're looking ahead. Oh, I think I'm going to make this corner. It looks good. Then you start going to the gas. And when you start going to the gas, you're cornering a lot, right? How much gas can those tires take when you're cornering a lot? Not very much. Man, I was watching these guys at a track day just 2 days ago in Michigan. And the good guys, when they got on the gas, it was so soft because it was in the middle of the corner. The car's cornering. So when you land on that gas pedal, it should be like a butterfly landing on a leaf. And just real soft. Everything looks good. You're looking real soft on the power. You start to give up some steering so you can add some power. More steering, more power. Straight, lots of power. So you roll it in. Just my man Andy was doing a great job of that in that supercharged Camaro. If you get greedy, you're going to spin the tires and spin out. Roll it on. So every corner, you come down on the gas, quickly to brake, then you give up some brake as you turn in, looking ahead, then you go to a little bit of power, and as you come out, you add power and take the steering out. Last thing I'm going to say is, imagine when you go to the brake, you're going straight, you go to the brake. Take a steel cable and drive it right through your foot and put a big nut and a washer on the back side of it, okay? You're on the brake. And then take the other side of that cable and tie it to the bottom of your steering wheel, right? When you turn the wheel, we got a cable tied right down to that foot on the brake. When you turn the wheel, what's going to happen?
You're gonna lift up.
It's going to lift your foot up. It's going to be gradual. It's gradual. And you leave it there. Now you're cornering, and you go over there to the gas pedal. Whoops, it's over here. Cable's still attached. Now you push down on the gas. What's going to happen?
It's gonna suck in the
It's
back
going to
end and
straighten
go around
that
the
steering
corner.
wheel. No, yeah. It's going to straighten that steering wheel. That's how you should drive. Your steering and your pedals are opposites. When you're going straight, you can use a lot of brake. You can use a lot of gas. But when you start to turn, keep braking because you want to have a little bit of weight up there. But only a little bit. You start turning, pull that foot up. Everything looks good. You're looking ahead. You go over there to the gas. You start adding gas. And it pulls your hand back down again. Smooth. Everything you do in the car, if everything's right, should happen kind of slow and smooth. Whereas, except for when you go from gas to brake. And why can you go from gas to brake real quick? Why? You're not doing anything else but going straight. The tires are just going straight. And so the tires are okay. They're like, hey, I'm going straight. I'll brake for you, buddy. Then you say turn, and it's got to be gradual. It's got to be smooth, real gradual. And that's how you drive. There you go, in a nutshell. So think about that when you're driving. It's a lot of things there. But if you think about looking where you want to be, all the rest of that will happen naturally. Everybody has natural eye-hand coordination, some better than others, and to make you a better driver. You get closer to the corner, you start looking for it. And then you ease off that brake, you keep a little brake on until you see you're going to make your apex. What is the apex? Every single corner has a place where the corner stops getting tighter and starts getting wider. That's what an apex is. You know, when you enter a corner, you got to bring the car down into the corner, and the apex is where it's at, where you can know if you're going to make that apex, you learn where that spot is in the corner, and you know if you're going to get there, everything's okay, and don't get on the gas until you know everything's okay. Makes sense, right? You ever heard somebody say like power out of trouble or power through a corner? No. If you're ever in trouble, stay away from the gas. If you're in trouble, if you're in doubt, if you don't know if you're going to get this, why would you want to go faster? The power is for when you know what you're going to do, when you know where you're going. That's when you accelerate. And that's what the apex tells you. You come in that corner, you say, okay, I remember about halfway through the corner, there's this crack in the pavement, and I'm gonna make sure I get down there. I'm gonna keep slowing down till I get that apex. Then when you know you're gonna make that apex, that's when you know, okay, it's okay to land softly on that gas pedal and start rolling it on. And the better everything looks, you're looking ahead, the better it looks, the more you add the power and the faster you go. And it's funny because when you're in the middle of a corner and you're turning, everything's gonna feel kind of calm. Like it should feel calm, almost boring. Like everything's good. But you want it to be boring because you're about to get on the gas. And you don't want to get on the gas until you know everything's right. And you roll that on real light, it seems kind of slow for a minute, but if you do it right, you roll it on, you unwind the steering, and by the time you get out to the exit, by the edge of the road, you're moving. You're moving. And by the time you get to the exit, who was the guy who knew where the speeds were? Jose? No. Where's Jose?
Yeah.
Jose knew his speeds all the way through the corner. I'm like, Jose, you're looking at the speedometer too much. But where you should look at it is on the exit of the corner. You come out of a corner like this one right here. See where those red and white curving end? By the end of that, if everything's going well, you're straight, you're accelerating, you're not doing anything else, you look down. How did I do? Oh, I'm going 73 miles an hour. I'm like 71 last time. I did it better. So look at your speed at the exit of the corner. But like at the apex, really be better to be looking ahead. So anyway, that's driving in a nutshell. The corners for super beginners, I hope I'm not talking down to you, the guys that have run a lot, but every corner you want to start wide, come down to the inside at some point, and then end up wide. And the reason for that is you make the corner wider. You make the radius as wide as possible. The funny thing is, the beginning part of it you make a little bit tighter, so that the ending part of it can be a little bit wider, a little bit longer. But every corner you start wide, come down inside, end up outside. Let's see, Elaine and I were riding around there when we were in the Tolly corner over here, which is 9, isn't it? Corner 9?
Yeah. Totally, yeah.
They used to call it that insulting term. And now that kind of slang, and we don't use that anymore. And the Tolly turn, Elaine had more road on the outside when she came out of the corner. So I encouraged her to get on the power a little sooner, open up a little sooner, and use that road. If you use all of the road, you can go faster without taking any extra risk. You want to use everything that's there. You can see on this corner, if you were to come out of that corner in the middle of the road, it would have to be slower. It's a tighter corner, right?
Yeah.
That's why every corner is going to be like that too. And I think
You're pretty good. Do you guys want to walk out here to?
Oh, you know what? Hey, anybody got any questions or something? I mean, it gets kind of boring to hear one voice for too long.
So with Hallett having so many blind corners, do you think it's just muscle memory on where to look at?
Blind corners take practice. Yep. And you basically keep slowing down until you see that you're going to make it. But then next time around, you got to remember what you did last time, and you can go a little bit faster.
I've never been on a track that has so many blind corners. You're coming over the hill, you're like, I know there's a turn coming up, but it's still another 100 yards after the top of the hill.
Yep. And that's why first time out, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
But after a couple of laps, you've been through those corners a couple times, and you can kind of get, well, I remember there was only one corner that was crazy tight. And that's another blind one that I can't see till I get there, turn 2. But you just slow down until you see you're going to make it. And then next time, you don't slow down quite as much. See how it went. Next time, don't. In fact, every corner's like that. But the blind ones, it's really important.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can get a clue in the distance. Like you might see the tree.
There's a cone on this back one over here, and you can see it as you're coming up to the hill. You see the top of the cone. You're like, all right, I know that turns right at the cone. But like,
I find that little cone very helpful.
that cone is.
But if it wasn't there, you would identify what you used as an apex when you're going up the hill. You're like, and the first time you should keep going left a long time up that hill until you can see over. Oh, it's over there. And if you're going slow enough, you make it. But then you learn it. it definitely takes a lot longer to learn a blind corner, a lot longer. If you can see the corner, you can figure it out much quicker.
Yeah.
But you use that same format. You begin by going a little too slow. If that worked, next time a little bit faster. Always a little bit at a time. I can tell you the pig story.
Tell us a big story.
This is like pig trails of big country, right?
Pig trail like Arkansas?
A buddy of mine was a city boy, and he used to go visit his cousin who had a farm. And when he first went there, his cousin showed off his prize pig. It was beautiful. He'd raised it. He won in the 4-H club. They had a 4-H club.
Yeah.
Good. Next time he visited, the pig only had 3 legs. And my buddy thought, that's strange. I guess he had a little accident. Next time he came back, the pig only had 2 legs. He thought, okay, that's weird. Next time he came back, the pig only had 1 leg. And he said, okay, that's strange. And he called his cousin over. Cousin, what's with that pig? Why does he keep losing legs? His cousin says, oh, that's a great pig. That's my prize pig. I said, I know. What's the legs? He's got 1 less every time I get here. He said, oh, that pig's so good you can't eat him all at once. You got to get him in little bites. And anytime you're working on doing a corner better, it's the same story. Little bites. You take just a little bit faster each time. And if it doesn't work out, if you get a little too fast, you're only a little too fast. And you can just wait a moment before you go to the gas, and then everything's okay again. Anytime you're in trouble, wait before you go to the gas to exit the corner. You got to know where you're going before you go to the gas. And that's a borderline. Okay, we can get the good part about going to the gas. If you don't hit the gas hard enough to spin your tires, when you accelerate, you transfer weight, right?
Yes.
Where have we agreed that we transfer weight?
The back.
It goes to the back. So how's the traction going to be in the back?
Slippery.
No.
If you spin them,
Yeah, but if you don't spin them,
it'll be grippy.
it'll be grippy because you'll put weight on them, but now you're putting it on the back. So if you use your power for good and don't spin the tires, you transfer weight back. The rear gets more traction and your car is more stable. So a fast corner like turn 1, you don't have a lot of direction change. It's not a real slow, tight corner. In a fast corner, you want to go to the power a little sooner to put weight on the back and make it stable. And it only takes a little bit. When your tires are busy cornering, small changes with the gas or the brake make a big difference in where you're going. So when you go to 1, you should go to the power quite a bit sooner than, say, turn 2. If you remember turn 2, it's the one where you're coming in this way, but you're going that way. You got a lot of direction change. So the more you want to turn, the longer you keep the weight on the nose. The less you're turning, like a fast corner like turn 1, the less you keep the weight on the nose because you want to make the car stable in a fast corner. Fast corners, you go to a little bit of power early to make it stable. And it only takes a little, just takes a tickle. Slow corners, you need that weight on the nose a long time. And that turn 2 is that way a long time. Oh, yes, sir. True
So
son.
we're talking about turn 2 and traction. One of the things I struggle with is a lot of understeer in turn 2. And hearing what you're saying, it sounds like maybe I'm taking my foot off the brake too soon. Because somebody told me you want to do all your braking before you do any turning input. So if I'm getting understeered, does that mean I'm coming still too hot into that corner?
Yep. Anytime a tire is sliding too much, it wants more load. Or you're giving it too much power and spinning. That's it. Yeah, if you understeer is when the car doesn't turn as much as you want it to. Understeer is when the front tires are sliding and the car's not getting over there. And that's understeer. And your tires are asking for some load. You want to keep the weight on the nose longer. Braking straight only is oversimplified, and as you just described, it doesn't work because then the car won't turn. And I deal with that a lot with people because they set their cars up. Some people drive that way their whole career. They brake hard and straight, lift off the brake, turn, and the car won't turn. So what do? They adjust the car. They put some toe out in it, more rear anti-sway bar. There's all kinds of things you can do to make your car turn better without the weight on it. But the problem is now when you get in the middle of the corner and the car is balanced, the rear tires are working too hard. The car is oversteering too much. They had to make it oversteer so it would turn without the weight on the front tires. And that's actually very common. A lot of times when I drive people's cars, they oversteer too much for that very reason. Because the drivers have been taught in an oversimplified form, because if you overslow, I guess it's safer to just stop while you're going straight. The car brakes better when you go straight. And so I drive and I leave a little weight on the nose when I turn in, and it turns too much and it kicks sideways. That happens a lot. In fact, that's how the cars were at Porsche when I drove for Porsche. How did I get the Porsche contract? The team I was with, we were beating the Porsche factory team. Why? Our car handled better. But then when I drove for Porsche, I had to drive their car. And that's why I only drove for one glorious year. Because the cars were terrible. I couldn't drive like that. Anyway, you are correct.
So we keep the brakes on.
Very light.
Light.
Hard and straight, and then let that cable pull your foot up. Very light, because when you're cornering, you can't ask the tire to do much of anything else. But the good news is it doesn't take much. Just enough to turn on the brake lights. I'm talking about light. But you'll find it makes a really big difference. And if it makes your car oversteer too much, then adjust the car. So that, add rear toe in, reduce front toe out, reduce the rear sway bar, all kinds of things you can do to make a car oversteer less. And you'll go faster and you'll crash less. You'll be safer.
So with that being said, you can probably brake later and still use his brakes in the corner a little further.
Yes, absolutely you can. Because if you're braking only straight, you've got to overslow, or you're not going to make the corner, right? But then you set the car up to oversteer. And this is when I drove for Mazda. My last pro contract was for Mazda. And my co-driver was a fabulous driver, wonderful young man who grew up karting. Karting is my nemesis, because karts have a solid axle in the back. They don't have a differential. And a solid axle, like a locker in a car, it won't let the car turn, because both the back tires are trying to turn the same speed, and the rear one's got to be able to go slower. So in a kart, you got to get that thing in the corner, and you want it to snap oversteer and unload that inside rear tire. So these kids do that for 8 or 9 years. He's 18 years old. He's got 9 years of racing experience. Amazing driver. But he's used to flipping that thing and just, ride it on the back tire through the corner. Drove me nuts. Because I did that thing I described, that little trail brake, and the thing was the loosest car I've ever driven in my life. I hated it. I had to go to the power real soon. Anytime the rear is getting loose too easy, go to the power sooner, put a little weight on the back, just a little. You don't want to spin them, and it'll be stable. But if it's too soon, now you're on the power and you still got to turn. And it's just not natural. It's not what the car wants.
Are you describing trail braking? You mentioned
Yes,
it just now.
that
I wanted
is
to ask
trail
you,
braking.
When you're still lightly braking into the corner, that's trail braking.
That's trail braking.
Maybe I'm using trail braking as a wrong.
No, you're
Okay.
exactly
Okay.
right.
They're
like, oh,
That's
that's
trail
not-
braking.
Okay. I'm making sure. I was like, is he describing trail braking this whole time?
Yes,
And
they
so I
use the
wanted to make
term. No.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Good. Because trail brake is very light. It's only enough to light the brake lights. Very light. But when you're cornering, you don't need much.
Yeah.
Small changes make a big difference when you're cornering. Because that tire's busy cornering, right? You say, here's a little bit of brake. Turns better. And the rear turns less well.
Huge.
Yeah. When I was riding with Elaine, she did a strong trail brake. No, it was into everybody's favorite corner, I think, down there. And remember, you brake lightly in the straight, and you were still braking pretty hard when you turned. It was like you had it backwards. You brake straight and hard, and then light when you turned. And you brake straight and light, and then hard when you turned. And boy, that thing turned. It was a Miata. Miatas like to turn anyway. They don't need much trail braking, just a little bit. One of the great things about trail braking is it keeps your foot off the dang gas pedal. Almost all of us go to the gas pedal too soon. You got to have patience and wait until everything looks right, and then you're okay. The only place you can do that is turn one, but still not too soon or not too much. You just got to get it right. It can make you more stable. Yeah. So, any more ideas? That was a good point, though. Good point about the trail braking.
So for front wheel drive, are there some differences to the dynamics?
All those rules are exactly the same, except it's just even more important to straighten your hands as you're getting on the gas. Because in a rear drive car, if you get it just right, where's my drifter? Where's my drifter? Yeah, my drifter's. In a rear drive car, if you get it just right, you get a little bit of wheel spin, and the car will continue to turn. In a front drive car, that will never happen. In a front drive car, the power only creates understeering. It only steers worse under power. The good news is you got a lot of weight on the front end, just natural. So front drive cars can actually go really fast around the racetrack. You just have to be extra careful about straightening your hands when you go to power or when the car's accelerating. The straighter it is, the better it'll accelerate. That's the main difference on the front drive. And the other thing is, and we didn't talk about when you get in trouble. If you get a slide that's too big. If your slide is too big and you're in trouble, in rear drive cars, stay away from the pedals. If in doubt, both feet out. Don't touch the pedals, save it with your hands. Like they taught you in driver's ed, steer into the skid. Do they even have driver's ed anymore?
Not unless you get a speeding ticket for 15 miles an hour above the speed limit. Yeah.
Which
That
all of you
drives
have
me
gotten,
nuts.
right?
Never. I have no idea what you're talking about, safety man.
We're so worried about the virus, but we don't train our drivers. What the heck?
We don't even there's barely a test. 16, you're good, get on the road, you're ready.
That's insane. That's insane.
You drove your extra
So anyway,
We don't want to
if
be
you had
California
had
up in
driver's ed, they would have said if the car starts sliding, steer into the skid, which is true. What they didn't tell you is if you catch it, it will stop getting bigger, and now it will go where the wheels are pointing. Because all the tires quit sliding and they look up. Well, you're turned. So if you catch a slide, you got to recover it back to straight. And all that's got to happen fast. It's really different. When your car's handling good and you're driving well and you're going fast, your hands should be smooth and slow. But if you get in trouble and you get a big slide, you got to catch it right away. And if you catch it, you got to straighten it back out. Or you'll get a hook slide, which is the most violent thing a car can do. But where I was going with that is in a front drive, you're driving the front wheels. So if your car gets too sideways, you can gas it. And the front is going to go back in the front. Well, you got to get the steering right and everything else. But in a rear drive, do not go to the car sideways. If you go to power, you'll just spin yourself out. And NASCAR guys do that on purpose to keep from hitting the wall when they get in trouble. And the best drivers in NASCAR can catch it with the steering. They don't have to spin out as much. You can always tell a better guy is that way.
So were you a champion car driver?
Champion?
Yeah, like where they race the Porsches, the McLarens, the Lambos.
Oh,
all
GT,
that.
yeah. Yep, I raced 4 Porsche for one glorious year. And I do sports car racing.
Okay.
And now I do a bunch of racing, cheap cars, just for fun, because I'm addicted and I still want to do it all the time. I do a series it's called Champ Car or Lucky Dog Race Series or WRL, and the races are 14 hours long, and the cars are, not always, WRL has some modern cars, but they're cheaper. Racing is never cheap. It just eats money, it eats parts, but When the race is 14 hours long, people will let me drive the car. So I just hang around on pit lane, you know, and then, oh yeah, I'll drive it, and it comes in and hop in on the pit stop. A 14-hour race, you change drivers on the pit stops. And they usually only let you drive 2 hours, but every series is different.
Champ car will be here this weekend.
What?
Yeah,
You
Champ
kidding me?
car, yeah, Saturday and Sunday they have an 8-hour enduro, and Sundays and Sundays.
This
How do
weekend.
you get into Hallett?
Oh, maybe I changed my flight. We're coming in tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, they'll be doing testing too tomorrow.
Champ car's here.
Yeah, Champ car, which used to be, if anybody's familiar, it used to be called Chump Car.
Yeah.
got your book.